Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I have my fall pixie. She's the last little pixie I have to do, and I'm excited to have her done. This doll was genuinely like a delight to work on. I got her done really quickly. I just think that fall is my favorite season, and I think I just really had a vision for her. Anyway, I'm back on my Cave Club hybrid bullshit. So I had a lot of heads that I was like thinking about using for this doll. But I went to Target and I saw these Naturalistas Little Cousins dolls, and I was like, dead head right there. That would actually be perfect for my fall pixie. So I picked it up and I'm going to be hybriding it with a Cave Club doll. This doll is really inexpensive. I think it's like $5, but I also think they're very new. I generally haven't really seen many people paint the Naturalistas dolls. I know I haven't painted their normal line because I kind of put them in the Barbie category, and I've literally painted, I think, 2 Barbies. So I just don't really branch out in that size. But I should, because they're stunning dolls, and they're also fully articulated now, which I think is kind of new. The doll has really pretty hair, so I'm just going to be keeping it because it's one of the things that made me buy the doll in the first place. It just is a really pretty texture, which is honestly impressive because the doll's like $5. I don't know how it's rooted if you were to take it out of the buns, but I mean, it's nice, it's soft, I like it. I pop the heads off and switch them by heating up the heads with a blow dryer, and you may notice that the Naturalistas doll is like, her head is a little bit darker than the body, but it's not really noticeable once I start blushing everything. I take her paint off with 100% acetone. Her sculpting is simple, but it works really well, and I think it's pretty, so I think it'll go really well with my other little pixie girl gang. We're going to be doing some very simple modding, so I'm taking some epoxy sculpt, I'm smushing them together, and then I'm putting that in between her shoulder blades, and I'm going to be planting a magnet on top of it. This is for her wings. And just by the way, her booty looks crazy because I sanded her underwear off. I'm trying to really smooth down that epoxy sculpt with water so that I don't need to do a lot of sanding. After the epoxy dries and I sand everything down, I'm going to be laying some acrylic paint on top to paint over the epoxy sculpt so that it's skin colored. And listen, I'm real proud of that color match right there. Next to her little ashy booty, it looks a little crazy, but ashy booty aside, it's pretty good. On to the face up, so I spray the doll 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, waiting 15 minutes between each spray and wearing a respirator mask, and I start sketching. So I'm starting with the eyeballs. I didn't have too much of an idea for the eyeballs, aside from I wanted them to be like mint colored so they'd pop against all the warm tones that I'm going to be using on her outfit and everything. This doll's head is like super hard, so it's taking all the pencils really well, and the color payoff is really nice. With her complexion and the theme of this doll, I figured orange lips would look really pretty on her, so I'm just coloring in her lips with this like medium tone orange pencil. I'm beginning to shade around her face, so I'm tapping some, this is actually, it looks pretty bright and like kind of light on her complexion, but it's like a darker peach pastel pretty much all over her face. And then I'm taking a brown pastel and I'm tapping that around her eyes and her nose just to really start to accentuate her features. And then you guys know I like blotchy blush on really any skin tone, so I'm taking a deeper red pastel and I'm tapping that on the middle of her cheeks and also on her forehead and a little bit on her nose. I really like making skin look like it has undertones to it, so I'm doing that with a blue pencil and I'm just creating veins around her eyes and her forehead. They're just like branch-like pencil marks. And then I'm going to be going in with a blue pastel and I'm tapping that around her eyes, her forehead, and also her chin. It looks like crazy here, but honestly it chills out once I spray the doll with MSC. At this point I sprayed her with MSC and she just looks a lot less freaky. So I'm going to be coloring in her eyes. This is a mint pencil and I'm just going over them. These are actually new. They're not watercolor pencils. They're just like pastel colored pencils from Faber-Castell and I really like them. I talked about this before, but I have dolls that I use normal color pencils on and they're a couple years old at this point and they look fine. So I'm kind of at a point where I don't really think that you need to use watercolor pencils on repaints. That's just my personal opinion. I did highlight around her face with a very light beige pastel, and I'm also tapping around her eyes with a very, very dark brown and also like on her lips. And this is another one of those cases where it looks way more chilled out once I spray it with MSC. She's looking like she did her makeup for the first time, and that is not her highlight shade. I was gonna keep her lips orange, but I just decided I can't because I love details too much. So I'm giving her some lip wrinkles with a brown watercolor pencil that I wet, and then I'm also outlining her lips with a red watercolor pencil. I'm giving her more defined highlights around her eyes and her lips with this like light gold brown pencil. And as you can see here, I sprayed her with MSC, so her makeup's looking, you know, it's looking way less like she did it for the first time. I'm giving her lip wrinkles some highlights because don't we all want that? So I'm taking this like medium peach pencil and I'm just adding some lines to specifically her lower lip. Taking some Pearl X pigment, I'm using an orange one on her lips and then like a rust colored one on her cheeks, and I just think it looks really pretty with her complexion. I carefully place her pupils with this pointy Q-tip and I'm tapping black pastel on the middle of the iris. All brows need hair, so I'm adding some flicks of those with this black watercolor pencil. I wanted her teeth to be showing, so I add a dot of white between her upper and lower lip. I mentioned this before, but I really like a fuzzy limbal ring around an iris, so I'm adding flicks of black going towards her pupil all around her eye. As a final step of highlights, I wet that golden brown watercolor pencil and I'm adding this on top of the areas that I put the pencil, not going completely over like every area of the pencil. It's kind of like just more specifically highlighting those areas or adding a highlight to the highlight, if that makes sense. And then and I really like this step. I gave her a bit of gold paint on her eyelid. I really do like using shiny paint and pencils on the waterline so it looks like it's like watery. You get it? You get it? So I'm taking this metallic rose gold and add that to the waterline, and then I'm soon going to be adding metallic rose gold paint to the waterline as well. I said earlier that I highlighted the highlight with watercolor paint. I'm doing the same exact thing with like darker shades around the face, so like the eyebrows, with a black wet watercolor pencil, so turned into watercolor paint. And it just adds like an even deeper color to the face, or the brows specifically. I'm highlighting and also adding like the iris texture, or like the look of, I feel like you know what I'm talking about, like that pattern or whatever in the eyeballs, with a light mint paint. On to the lashes. So this black pencil is very like hard, so it makes very thin lines, which I think is great for lashes on dolls. It's a Faber-Castell black watercolor pencil, and I'm just adding lashes how I like them, which is like thick and fluffy. Her pupil area was just like looking kind of dark, so I took this Pearlix pigment, it's like a blue duochrome one, and I tapped that on her pupil. As a final step, I'm taking white watercolor and I'm adding a catch light on her eyes. With my Tommy gloss, I add that to her lips and a little bit to her nose, and I am so obsessed with this doll. Like, I just think her paint came out so pretty. I also just love this hybrid. I don't know, if you guys have Cape Club doll bodies laying around, you got $5 to spend on a Naturalistas doll, I highly recommend it. On to blushing the bodies. I'm basically just using the same tones that I use in the face, so deep browns, like darker kind of peachy colors, reds, blues, things like that. Now that her body's blushed, I just really love the combination of her like face and her body, and I also feel like her head looks way less mismatchy to her body, and it looks way more like the same tone. On to the wings. So I decided that I thought that monarch butterfly wings would really go well with this theme. So I'm taking orange foam and I'm just painting it so that there's like a little bit of a gradient happening. So first I'm taking yellow and I'm just painting that on top. It's very watered down and I'm blending it out with my finger. And then I'm taking a darker like reddish orange to create like a darker shade at the top of the wings. For the black areas of the wings, at first I was using marker, but then I just realized that I could get like a way thinner line painting with black acrylic, so I switched over to that pretty quickly. For the design on these monarch wings, I'm just referencing a lot of reference, so I'm just looking at a lot of monarch butterfly wings. I'd say the hardest part was just getting them even, and these are very much not, so like don't stare at them too hard, but I think they came out like relatively convincing. It's not very noticeable. attached the wings to the back using a magnet that I'm super gluing in place. I really love how these came out. I've tried to do monarch or monarch-like wings before and they didn't turn out very good. I feel like the level of detail that these have make them more convincing because it's not as noticeable if they're uneven from one side of the wing to the other. On to the dress. So is this predictable? Probably, but I'm giving her a leaf dress. I have these beautiful leaves. They're like fabric leaves that I'm going to be sewing together. So I just cut off pieces of them and I'm doing the top now. I'm sewing the front and back pieces together. For the skirt, I have many little pieces that I cut off from those leaves that I'm going to be sewing to the top. After her dress is done and all sewn together, I'm going to be taking, I have so many like gold and like fall colored like ribbons and bits and bobs I'm going to be accessorizing her with. So I have a brown leather, I don't know what to call this, ribbon I guess, but I'm tying that around her waist. And I also created stockings for her and tied more of that brown pleather strip of fabric ribbon thing, and I did it around her legs. And then I have this gold ribbon and I cut pieces of it and made her like little shoulder armor thingies and sewed some around her hands. And I have table confetti that's I guess for fall that I glued to her hair. It was really fun accessorizing her because again I have tons of stuff like this in this color scheme because one of my favorites. With that though guys, she is done. So this is actually the last doll for my seasonal Pixie series. Look at her hair. I took it out from the hairnets. It looks so pretty. But yeah, I loved working on these. I specifically really loved working on this one, which I expected to because fall is my favorite season. But I love how she came out. I love how her little sisters came out. This was a really fun series to work on. I don't know if I have like a favorite and least favorite. To be honest, I love all of them. This one's probably my favorite because I just got done working on her, but I do really love all of them. I feel like this one and the winter one have like a soft place in my heart just because I really like the winter one's hybrid combination and face up, but it was fun working on every single one of them. So I hope you guys like seeing this series. It's my first series. I don't know, maybe I'll do another one, who knows. I love working on this scale. It's like literally my favorite thing. I think they're just an adorable combination, just like these, I don't know, smaller random heads that I've been able to find. And the Cave Club bodies. Cave Club bodies are like chef's kiss. They're so good. Honestly wish some company, I don't even care who, would make dolls that are kind of like this. So like this scale, this type of body, this type of head. I'd be so excited. But if you guys like the series, like this video. If you like this video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have a favorite, let me know. Don't let me know if you have a least favorite. That's not very nice. I mean, I guess you can let me know. Whatever. Like this video if you like this video. Subscribe, makes me happy. And I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Bye!